Hi, welcome to Delusion Media, your one-stop shop for empowering content creators. My name is 𝙂𝙀𝘼𝗍𝗔. I'm a lawyer and a YouTuber, and I am excited to be bringing you bunches of new content all about how to grow your content creation business. Today, I'm trying something a little new for me. I am going to watch my first video that I ever posted to YouTube as an adult. I had a YouTube channel as a teen. Those videos have all been burned. But I mean, my YouTube channel, 𝙂𝙀𝘼𝙍𝗼, which is my name, it's all about the law. That's a separate channel from this one. I started that back in 2020. And so I wanted to watch my first video to reminisce, but also to use it as an opportunity to tell you how I would do it differently now that I have 3 years of experience under my belt doing this. All right, this video is titled, Real Lawyer Explains What's Going On with the Britney Conservatorship. First of all, honestly, great choice in topic. It is topical. It's a current event that's happening that a lot of people were and are very fervent about. Usually if there's a huge fan base about something and it's noteworthy and newsworthy, making a video about it, especially if it's coming from a slightly different angle than others, probably will help increase its reach. So good for me on the topic choice. Let's see. The thumbnail is just my face mid-sentence and the words #FreeBritney. I like that words, #FreeBritney. I try to keep words 4 or fewer words on a thumbnail, and that's calling to something that people are going to recognize, the Free Britney movement. The photo of my face on here, usually it's better if you use a photo with slightly more expression, a more expressive face. Here, I'm just mid-sentence, you know, like we don't know how I'm feeling about this. We don't know how I'm reacting to it. It's just me talking, which might come across as a little bit boring. Those are my critiques so far. Let's jump in. Let's talk about Britney. I get a little sip of this. My name's 𝙂𝙀𝘼𝙍. The intro's funny. I like that I showed a piece of my personality immediately the second I hit the ground running on YouTube. Honestly, icon behavior. Okay? The intro where it's like the thing that pops up on the screen that says my name and the music, that could have been cut down. You need like 3 to 5 seconds tops. Like, people don't. That being said, I break that rule over on my law YouTube channel. My intro is like 20 seconds long, which I think everyone would tell you is too long. I think it's fucking badass, so I keep it. Which is, I think, a good lesson for all of us that even though there are rules of thumb that people suggest you follow on YouTube, for every rule there is someone breaking it and doing so successfully. So take everything you hear from anyone who claims to be a YouTube guru on here, including me, with a grain of salt, because all rules are meant to be broken, all right? But in hindsight, I would have shortened that intro a little bit. I'm a real-life lawyer on a mission to demystify the law and how it affects your everyday life. Today I want to talk to you about Britney Spears. Ever heard of her? As a disclaimer before... Okay, so I'll say too, even though I showed my personality in the very beginning little snips where I took like a funny moment from other times in the video and popped it at the very front, that's a common trick that people use. They take a funny line or a suspenseful line from some time during the video and they put it at the front so that it gives some people that are watching something to look forward to. I liked that, but then after all that intro, I'm talking so quietly and my energy is so low, and I think that just comes with experience. You learn both how to have more energy, but also how to speak to a camera and have presence on a camera. And of course, there's always areas to learn and grow, but I definitely can tell that I'm new here and a little bit nervous, and I'm trying really hard to be perfect and say everything perfectly. I will also admit I was filming these videos in my mother's basement at the time, so I was probably talking a little bit more quietly because I was probably a little embarrassed to be filming. So a lesson there, try not to be embarrassed as you're filming. You're making your dreams come true. You gotta shoot for the stars, baby. Be delusional. You gotta believe in yourself. No one else will, especially when you're just starting out your YouTube channel. It's gonna be embarrassing. You gotta just lean into it. Before we get started, I would like to say I am a lawyer, but I am not your lawyer. Nothing that I'm saying here creates any sort of attorney-client privilege, and you should always seek an attorney's advice before making any legal decisions. Unless you've been living under a rock lately, you've heard that Britney is living a pretty sheltered and controlled life under what's called a conservatorship, which is run by her pretty abusive and alcoholic Okay, so my low energy, and I can tell that I am trying to say everything perfectly, so there are a lot of pauses in what I'm saying, like boring. If you are trying to say word for word something that you've memorized on a piece of paper, it's probably gonna sound robotic unless you are a trained actor who's good at delivering lines. I'm not that, and so I was trying to be perfect and to say everything perfectly from what I had written down to the camera, and so it came across as with a lot of pauses and very slow. And something tells me this whole video is gonna be really slow because my energy is low and I am talking so fucking slowly. It makes me want to fall asleep. But though I will say, TikTok has rotted my brain, so my attention span is just shorter. But that's the same for a lot of people. A lot of your viewers are going to have rotted TikTok brain and they want things that move fast at a clip. I'm not saying you need to rush through things. I certainly have been accused of speaking too quickly, which I would respond with, well, you know, down at the bottom you can change the speed and you can go at 0.5 speed if you're too slow to follow me. Because I like getting sassy in the comment section. I wouldn't recommend it though. Anyway, point being, you need to move at least a pace that is going to keep people's attention. And if you are talking about a lot of facts and figures, or you're telling a story and you're talking a lot, often it's a really good idea to add some sound effects and pop in a picture or pop in some words if you're discussing a word or defining something, or changing up the music or something to grab people's attention, because if you're talking for more than a minute straight, you're gonna lose them unless there's something that pops up on the screen or some sound or something to grab their attention. Sometimes just using a pause and some space is enough to grab people's attention back in because you've been talking and then all of a sudden you pause. And that pause could be for comedic effect. I like using it for comedy sometimes. It can be for dramatic effect, but it is effective, something as simple as a pause, in grabbing people's attention back in. And that is kind of your number one goal as a YouTuber. And here I am going so slow and I'm already bored. I will also say my low energy and the kind of peppy jazzy music I have in the background it's not matching up, okay? I like the idea, I like what I was going for. I was trying to pick music that wasn't just like the lo-fi beats that every other girl on YouTube picks for every video they make. I was trying to shake things up a little bit, but the music doesn't match the tone. And I think figuring out what music to pick and where to put it in your YouTube videos is like an entire separate video that we can get into. Comment below if you would like that video. A larger issue, which is conservatorship abuse that's happening all over the country, which implicates state law, federal law, and the Constitution of the United States itself. Let's get started. Okay, so when I blinked there, did you see how my camera kind of like quickly lost focus and then came back into focus? So I was a photographer before going to law school, and I had this like really expensive Nikon and lens setup that I decided to use for filming because, you know, start with what you have. Nikon is not made for filming video, and its autofocus sucks. And so the second that it loses sight of your eyes, it's like, there's no human there. What's happening? Where am I? What year is it? And it freaks out. And you can often hear the motor in the lens during autofocus in the background, and it would shut off after 20 minutes automatically. Like, Nikons are not made for film. So I had this setup was multiple thousands of dollars, this Nikon camera that I had, and it still wasn't working and didn't look, I mean, the quality looks great. There's a great bokeh, it's called, like the background blur looks very nice. So having a nice lens does lend itself to a nice background blur. However, just because you have really expensive equipment doesn't necessarily mean that what you're making is gonna look great if you don't know how to use it. I had a photography background. I did not have a film background. I didn't know what I was doing. You probably don't know what you're doing either. So you need to lower your expectations, and you need to start with what you have instead of investing a bunch of money into equipment that you don't know how to use before you've learned even the basics of like how to edit, how to appear on camera, how to frame yourself on camera, how to do sound, like all of those basics. Start with with your iPhone, which frankly iPhones now look amazing and you'll do great. Start with your iPhone, work your way up from there. Having expensive equipment does not necessarily mean that your content is going to look better. The name of the game with YouTube is learning as you go, and that takes time, and it takes you just hitting record and getting started. Actually, before we get started, I would love to ask you to please give this video a thumbs up if you find it useful, and hit the subscribe button if you want to hear. Okay, that's another point I want to make. I no longer ask people to subscribe or hit the thumbs up button, sometimes ever in the video, but especially not at the beginning of the video. They don't know who you are, probably, and if they do know who you are, they're probably already subscribed, but they don't know who you are and you have not given them a reason to follow you yet. So I would say hold the subscribe requests till the end, if ever, because they know where that button is. They will subscribe if they want. They know how it all works, usually, unless it's like your mom. Plus, it just takes up valuable time during which you should be trying to grasp their attention, and asking them to subscribe is not an attention grabbing thing to do. There are many people who break this rule and are still successful, like I said, but that is just something that I don't do anymore. For me, more. Okay, let's talk about Britney, and let's start from the beginning. Britney was born Britney Jean Spears on December 2nd, 1981. That's right, she's a Sagittarius. She was born in good old Mississippi and moved to New York City with her mom when she was 9 to do some acting. At that point, she tried out for the Mickey Mouse Club, but she was told she was too young. Nevertheless, she persisted, and by the time she was 11, she landed that iconic Mickey Mouse Club role. Roll the clip. Mesmerizing. But regular old high school was never enough for Britney, and by the I'm funny. Time she was 17, she came out with her iconic classic Baby One More Time, which garnered her double. Okay, a couple things here. First of all, the sound on this, not great. You can hear me clipping a lot. I am using the same exact mic today as I was using in this filming. One thing I learned is that you really need to get the mic as close to your mouth as humanly possible. This mic is just out of frame, right above my head on a separate mic stand. During the filming of this video, I believe it was attached to the camera, which was like 3 or 4 feet away from me. You're just not gonna get as good a sound when it's that far away. I also just didn't really know how to edit sound or the settings on this microphone. I'll link the mic down below. It's a Shure microphone. I'll link it below if you would like to check it out. But I didn't understand how to use the settings on it. Honestly, I'm still learning. I am not an audiophile by any means, but that's just another example of you can have a really nice piece of equipment. I mean, this wasn't thousands of dollars, but it was a couple $100 invested. You can have that and still not know how to make it sound good. So again, start with what you got. Separately, I want to say I have been working a lot recently on learning how to tell better stories through my videos, and one thing that I've really been focusing on is creating a story arc as opposed to telling things in chronological order. Here I'm saying she was born, she did Mickey Mouse Club, then she did this, then she did this, then she did this, in a very chronological order. That can be a lot easier to follow for people, but it's also really fucking boring. A more interesting way to tell a story would be to talk about Britney Spears as a human being. What were her thoughts? What were her dreams? What's her story arc? What is her hero arc? Think about it in the terms of a hero arc. Britney is our hero in this case. What is her goal? What is her passion? What were the obstacles along the way? And then how did she get there? And, you know, in this case, the obstacles could be continuing. It could be the conservatorship, and then the kind of climax would be talking about what we want for her, or what it would look like if she got out of the conservatorship, or things like that, because at this point she was still in the conservatorship. So thinking about ways to create a story arc with anything that you're talking about instead of going chronologically. If you're making a vlog, don't just say, I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this. Talk about what your hope was for the day and the obstacles that got in the way, and then the final crescendo into getting what you want. There are a million different ways to tell a good story, and a million different topics you can tell a good story with. And it's something that I encourage you to focus on as you're creating your videos. How do I make this into a more compelling story? I did not do this here, and I'm already bored. Great. Platinum status and a few very iconic singles. Again, she was 17 when this thing came out and made her a worldwide superstar, constantly berated by paparazzi, including during her iconic time dating her Mickey Mouse Club counterpart Justin Timberlake and appearing at award shows in iconic outfits together. So that's kind of early Britney for you, and then she did a few more iconic things like that very brief I do like the counter that I have popping up here. I think that's a clever idea where every time I say iconic, I noticed that I said iconic a million times in this video and thought that's probably gonna be annoying to some people, so I'm gonna just make fun of myself. And doing that, it's a sound effect, it's a word that pops up every time I say iconic. That's attention grabbing. It can be something as little as that, but it's enough to kind of get people's attention back on what you're saying, especially if you're just talking a lot and you're doing more of a talking head video. Las Vegas marriage that she had, but then she ended up settling down with a Kevin Federline and they had 2 kids together. However, it wasn't just pure romance and smooth sailing in paradise. Britney had her 2 sons really close together, back to back, within a year of each other. And after her second son was born, about a month after, is when she filed for divorce from Kevin Federline. This was in 2007, and if you recall, this was kind of the year it all went south for Britney. So 2007, she gives birth to... See, this period of time when Britney Spears was really having her very public breakdown was really dramatic, and I kind of just plow through it in a very matter-of-fact chronological way. I'm not showing my reaction to it. I'm not talking about, oh, I remember this, here's how I thought about Britney Spears in 2007. I'm not imbuing the video with my own personality, with my own thoughts, opinions, experiences. And now some people say, well, you're a lawyer, you're not supposed to show your bias or have any personality at all, to which I say, you're in the wrong place, buddy, because I got a lot of personality to go around, okay? But I would say it is almost always a better idea to add your personality, your story, and who you are to your videos, because people are drawn to people. You are going to be talking about something that I bet a million other people have already made videos about on YouTube. So you need to differentiate yourself through a number of different factors, but the most important being your personality. Who are you? People are going to be attracted to that. Your people will find you if you put your personality out there. And I'm just like really not doing it in this video. It is just... I'm just stating facts and plowing through things. So one really great way that you can show your personality is by actively reacting to the things you're talking about. Telling stories if you're talking about a historical event, telling stories about how you felt while it was happening, or how you felt when you first learned about it if it happened before you were born, or, you know, your current day opinions about what's happening. All of those things imbue the video with your personality and make it more than just this dry lecture. Her second son, she divorces Federline, and then she ends up kind of losing it, shaving her head, spends some time in rehab, iconically attacks a paparazzi with an umbrella, and then spends a little bit more time in rehab. I'd like to point out at this point, though, that again, this all happened about a month after she gave birth to her second child, and I don't think it's talked about enough. The hormonal and emotional challenges that a lot of women face after giving birth are not talked about a ton, and I can't help but wonder if there was something going on with Britney that was totally normal, but was so taboo for her to talk about, not to mention just spending the better part of the past decade, especially so young, being constantly chased by paparazzi. I feel like anyone would lose it. In 2008, Britney has visitation. Oh my God. I just checked the time. We're only 4 minutes into this thing. It's a 30-minute video. I am so bored. I'm gonna skip ahead. Sorry. So after this incident and her psychiatric hold at UCLA Medical Center, Jamie Spears, her father, was granted a temporary conservatorship over Britney. All right, so that begs the question, what's a conservatorship? I looked into a bunch of different sources because while I am a lawyer, I'm not a conservatorship lawyer, and I found the California Handbook of Conservatorships, and Britney's conservatorship is in California, and so I found this very helpful. So a conservatorship is based... Okay, here I'm doing a lot of talking about names and people. I'm also talking about structures, and I'm talking about timelines and years. These are all opportunities to, again, engage the viewer and get their attention back by popping things on the screen. Pop the year on the screen, as you say it. Create a timeline in Canva and put that on the screen so people can follow along. Create a diagram in Canva showing what you're talking about. Canva's a great tool, I'll link it down below, but there's a lot of opportunities for you to grab people's attention as you're talking, and my rule of thumb is I really try not to go more than a couple minutes without something popping on the screen, because again, we got TikTok brain, and we gotta draw the people back in. The YouTube algorithm awards you for how long you keep people watching your videos. That's all the YouTube algorithm wants. It wants people to stay on YouTube for as long as possible. And so the more you do that, the nicer the algorithm's gonna be to you, okay? So you do that by grabbing people's attention over and over again, especially using visual aids, okay? Don't talk for minutes on end with nothing popping up. It's really boring. I'm skipping again, I'm sorry. I'm going to the end.
of handling their own day-to-day living and their own estate, the only way to get out of a conservatorship is to die. So basically, once a conservatorship is created, it's really hard to get out from under it. It sounds like Britney has tried a few times to hire an attorney or get herself declared capable of handling her own life and estate so that the conservatorship can be dissolved, but it doesn't really seem like there's any easy way out for Britney at this point. Again, she can't hire an attorney to sue for her civil rights, and as courts have recognized, she's basically a prisoner in her own home. And this is the reality for a number of people throughout the United States, not only dependent adults, but also dependent elderly adults. It's estimated that 1.5 million people in the US are currently living under a conservatorship.
See, there's another opportunity for me to have grabbed your attention by putting something on the screen saying 1.5 million, quoting what I'm saying so people can read along. You're talking about a really important stat. You need to put it on the screen so people can see it, because people are very visual and they need to be, again, you gotta draw them in. Take every opportunity you can.
There are many less restrictive means of handling care for someone who has become incapacitated due to age or illness. So despite the fact that many states have recognized that this abuse is happening, very little has been done to effectively end or curb the abuse. There's a lot of really great resources if you'd like to learn more about this. There's an episode of the Netflix series Dirty Money called Guardians Inc. that really goes into especially the elder abuse that occurs in the conservatorship system. And then, like I said before, the Lawyers for Britney Instagram is super helpful, as well as the Free Britney subreddit and the Britney's Gram podcast. These sources are going to have ongoing updates as to Britney's situation, but I hope that this has at least given you some context as to what a conservatorship is and kind of the uphill battle that Britney faces going forward if she wants to regain a lot of her fundamental freedoms. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you found this informative. If you did, please hit that thumbs up.
Okay. There's an example. I just stopped it. There's still like 15 seconds left in the video. People are going to stop watching your video before the very end of it. And again, you want to keep them as long into the video as possible. So one trick that a lot of people use is they will just abruptly stop and then be like, the algorithm thinks that you're gonna like this video, and then they'll sign off. So you don't even have time to realize the video is ending. It leaves you wanting more, and then you click on that new video that they've recommended for you and you start binging their content. Sneaky, but it works. Towards the end there, I could tell that I was getting a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera. My words were coming more easily. I was getting a little bit more animated. It still took me a while to really grasp how I wanted to appear on camera, and it's something that is always evolving, and I'm always trying to do better and better in this craft. So hopefully 6 months from now, I'll look back at this video and be like, wow, that looks like trash, you know? That's the goal, because that means that you're growing and you're learning. So even if you don't know how you're gonna put out a video that looks good, you're kind of afraid it's gonna look like trash, that's okay. Put it out anyway. There's a saying in the business world called launch ugly. Just get it out into the world and you will figure it out as you go. And that is very true for YouTube. You are not gonna know everything and how to do everything and how to make it look amazing the moment that you start filming your first video. It's impossible unless you already have a background in cinematography, in which case, congratulations, I don't know why you're watching this video. So that is the moral of this story. That video was boring. Would I send that to someone now and be like, look, I'm on YouTube? Absolutely not. But I'm really proud of the fact that I'm able to look back on my past work and say, well, that's not really good. I definitely can do a lot better now. There are pieces of it that I'm like, oh, that's funny, that was clever, I like that. You're gonna be able to look back and see the pieces that make sense, and you're gonna take those pieces and you're gonna make them better and better. You're gonna learn from it, and the more videos you make, the better you'll get at all of this. So I hope that this has encouraged you to just get out there and hit record. If you are just starting out and you want a little bit more hand-holding, don't miss my free Get Started checklist. It's linked down below. It gives you a checklist of everything you need to do in order to get started on YouTube, because we all gotta start somewhere. All right? Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.